Well, hello there, Catherine Langman here, back with another episode of the Productpreneur Success Podcast. Welcome to the show if you are a new listener, and of course, welcome back if you're a long-time listener. It's just wonderful to have you all here. And today on the show, I'm really excited to welcome a friend and fellow productpreneur, Dee Stearman, or Dee, as most of us call her. And Dee's journey in business is probably a little bit familiar to many of you, as it is to me, in that she launched her first business whilst she was on maternity leave with her first son, which I'm sure must have been a good 11 years or so ago by now. And since then, she's actually gone on to build 3 incredibly successful businesses, actually 4. She had an extra kind of side hustle there along the way, and 2 really successful product brands, Nibbly Bits and Mibblers, which have gone on to international success, selling really into major retailers here in the United States, Europe, Asia, across Asia and the UK, pretty much everywhere. And also online as well. And then, of course, she has Raw Success, which some of you may know of. It's a networking, a mentoring, and a business awards program or event. And it really is a little bit different to the norm. It's very Dee, very fun, and she's going to talk all about all of those things. And Dee is one of those entrepreneurs who I think always seems to be smiling and having a lot of fun, and she is and she does, but you don't want to let that fool you into believing that everything she touches always turns to gold, because the reality is that none of us gets out of this entrepreneurial journey without some hardships or mistakes or some plans not working out the way that we always intend. And what I really love about this conversation with Dee is that she's totally transparent and happy to share her story, all the highs as well as the lows, and really sharing some of the things that she's done to grow through it all. And it's a really wonderful conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's welcome Dee to the show. Welcome to the show, Dee. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. We've been talking about this for a while now, Kath.
A while. So we finally pinned it down, which is awesome. And so we've got a lot to cover because you've had quite the career so far as a business owner. And I guess for listeners who don't know you, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and, who are you? What do you sell? What's your business all about? Or businesses, should we say?
There's a couple. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm Danielle. Everyone calls me Dee. If you call me Danielle, I feel like I'm in trouble or it's my mum. So you can call me Dee. Yeah, look, I say fall into entrepreneurship and business really was because I was 3 months pregnant with my first baby, and I was working. I loved my job. I was a big executive retail manager and buyer at an organization. And when I told my bosses I was pregnant, they made me redundant the next day, effective immediately, because it was just like the biggest slap in the face.
Surely laws have changed about that since then.
They have. Well, I actually can't discuss it too much, but I did take them to court for unfair dismissal and I won my case. But at the time I was so hurt by it because prior to that, I'd been their golden girl. I was on their TV commercials, radio stations. I was, front and center, their poster child. And it was just like, because I was having this baby in September and our big buy over in China was in September, they just rendered me useless, it seemed. So I sort of fell into it because I was sitting at home like many mums are, and had this growing baby belly, but my brain was still working. And I'd never run my own business, but I was always that child, I think, that always had the little hustle, not necessarily the lemonade stand, but I would find a way. I was always the kid that sold the most raffle tickets. I always had that tenacity and that sales ability. And my family are very much salespeople and in that space. So while I was growing my son, I came across a product in the States called Chew Beads, which was a silicone teething necklace. And there was one company who had launched very early here in Australia called Jellystone Designs. And I really loved the concept of the product, but I just felt like there was a huge market share that was right there that could be done better, a better quality, a better finish. Chew Beads was quite a sticky silicone product. So I went into sort of development. I sort of spent those months growing my baby and growing this idea and kind of researching manufacturers and getting samples and doing designs. And I had no idea what I was doing, but that's sort of where I started. And By the time Max was 3 months old, I launched softly. So I came down to Port Fairy and did the Port Fairy Folk Festival, put my product on table. I did really, really well over the course of the weekend and decided that was it. I was going to just take this business and run. So that was my very first business, was a product business called Nibbly Bits. And it was all teething jewelry and toys and just stuff that made mum and bub connect a little bit more. And we were really lucky in that first business to have such great support from the Breastfeeding Association, Autism Spectrum, the Royal Children's Hospital. They were things that really, you know, set my business apart and made it, I think, a little bit easier for me to market my brand differently to the others. And so that's sort of where I started. And from there, I've gone into sort of side businesses. So I I actually ended up partnering years later with the new owner of Jellystone Designs, Claire Behrman, and we did a spin-off brand called Silly Mama, which was a DIY craft supply so that other mums and people at home could make their own product, sell their own products, but they would have access to our quality and our safety, which was always really important. And then I've got a little teething toy brand called the Mibblers. So I have sold Nibbly Bits and Silly Mama now. We've sold and moved on. I've still got the Mibblers. And now I've got another brand called Raw Success as well, which is more a service-based business. So.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I wanted to ask you, you know, you're describing those early stages in the business, and it's such a creative period of time because you have ideas, you're trying things out, you're trying to, you know, get people to make things to those ideas. And it's a very it's a creative process, but also a problem solving and ideating and all of that kind of stuff, trying to realize an idea or a concept. Do you enjoy that? Is that like...
It's definitely my favorite part of the business. I think that development and the piecing everything together and really using the brain juice to really get outside of the box. I think the best part about business for me is finding what someone else isn't doing, or what someone else might be doing that could be done different or in a better way, or a, you know, just in that scope. I think because that's the challenge, right? The creative stuff it doesn't come easy to everybody. I've met some amazing business owners that are so savvy on, you know, numbers and accounting and financials, and they get that, but they struggle with the creative stuff. The creative stuff's always been my jam. I love coming up with, you know, fresh and different marketing, and I guess pushing the envelope a little bit in, you know, what you can do in a design, and it doesn't always work. You know, I ask anyone that's in product development, they know. I've wasted a lot of money doing bad designs and bad, you know, ideas, but I think that's the fun part too, because it's that sort of stuff that is the stuff that lights you up. And I think if you can find that in business, whatever that is in your business, if you can tap into that and have that as a really main focus in your role, then I think that keeps you loving your business. I think when people start to have to do all the things and don't outsource and it all becomes really hard is when people go, oh, I can't do it anymore, and they want to give up. I think it's important to keep the stuff you love at the forefront of, you know, what you're doing.
Definitely. But also I think knowing that there's always going to be that kind of process ongoing, and not just thinking that if I just do this, it's going to be done, and then I never have to do that again and I can move on.
Absolutely. I think Google is the worst enemy for people too, because I think people think there's just a step-by-step 1, 2, 3 ABC way of doing things. And I've never, ever come across a business owner that's made that their reality. I think it's always been, you might create something, but it's okay to go back and you're going to tweak it. And if you ask any product owner, you know, go back to the very first sample that you bought out, go back to the first product that you did. Like, it's so different, you know, a couple of years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, and you're just like, oh my God, I got away with that. Like, my marketing budget was zero. You know, had all my family and friends in my photos, you know, Posy, my children. It's so different, but I think that's the evolution of business too. I think a great business owner understands that and is still willing to go back and reinvest and rebrand and remarket. And I think that's the fun stuff. For me, that's definitely my jam. I love that part of business.
You see the biggest brands like Apple, you know, it's never a finished product. Every year there's a new iteration of their product. So they're always updating their designs.
Absolutely. And that all comes from just wanting to be at the forefront of their industry, right? So you know, if you go back to the very first smartphone that we had, or the very first mobile phone, they were bricks. Do you remember? I mean, my dad had one. It was like this huge, big, like, hello. Like, he thought he was so cool. I look back at it now and think, my God, it was such, you know, now they're tiny little things and they go back to being big and small. It's just crazy. But back in the day, that was their thing. So
totally. So you were talking about launching Nibbly Bits in a soft launch kind of method, going to a market and selling on the table at the market, which obviously set you off for a, you know, the future success that you've then enjoyed. What are some of the things that you did beyond that? Because obviously you were able to grow the business quite significantly.
Yeah, look, I found that soft launch really just gave me the ability to talk to people and to get people's feedback, which I always found such a crucial and critical part of the business. It also gave me an opportunity to build relationships with people and for people to get to know me behind the brand, which, you know, I think business owners sometimes underestimate that opportunity. So I really spent the first couple of years doing lots of expos, lots of consumer shows, trade shows, market stalls, you know, fundraising events. You know, every month we were at the Royal Children's Hospital downstairs as a part of their fundraising. And I was there. I went. They were the things that I loved the most. I was happy to be there. I was happy to talk to people. I would, you know, I'd really get a kick out of being able to hand somebody a piece, a necklace or a bangle, and say, feel it. You can feel the difference. Then there might have been, if I was at a big expo, you know, we might have had another competitor that was there, or several as they started to pop up. But I was always able to go, you can feel ours, you know, you can try it on, you know, and talk about the, I guess, the differences and the things that we had going on as a brand that perhaps, you know, others didn't. But I think more so it was just the relationships. I mean, that's how I met my business partner for Mibblers. She was a customer at a pregnancy baby children's expo. She came past with her first little baby boy, and I held him while she tried necklaces on, and they took photos because he grabbed my necklace and then wanted to play with my necklace, and we had that relationship just from that. It was just that very, you know, and the ability to build those relationships with retailers at trade shows or wholesalers. I did that here in Australia, and then was able to take that and do it overseas, which, you know, just allowed us to again test the market. And going overseas was almost like going back to that very beginning, that very first market. You know, it's putting your product on a table, not having the biggest budget to do it, but just getting feedback and meeting people and gauging interest and seeing what works. And it was interesting because in a lot of the spaces, trends were different, colors were different, you know, products were different. It wasn't the favorite or the most popular product here necessarily wasn't the most popular in, you know, Singapore, or it wasn't the most popular even in the US. So navigating all of that as a brand owner who then had to manage stock, you know, to produce stock and have stock levels on hold, and that was all really difficult in the beginning. And I was probably really bad at doing that. I used to just blanket order everything and like, order 1,000 of everything and we'll see how we go. And I learned really quickly that I was just sitting on cash. There was just, all of a sudden, that wasn't the piece that was going to sell because I hadn't done that due diligence and hadn't been there, I hadn't gone. So I think it's a really underestimated thing, but you can get the same amount of, I guess, feedback and brain juice to consider at a very small market, and the same that you'll get it at a big expo. Sure, the numbers are different, but the opportunity to be there and listen. And I would hear people say, oh, I wish you had a pendant, or I wish, you know, I'd love for you to do an animal pendant for my kid. Or so if I would hear that enough, what do you think I'm going to go do? I'm going to go develop a koala pendant. So it was that ability to be able to listen to the feedback firsthand. And we're very much in an e-commerce space. I mean, obviously COVID's had us, you know, online and tethered
everything's online
to sort of computers. It's hard to get that feedback. So now that you're able to go back out and do that, I definitely think for brand owners, it's a great way to reconnect, put your face back out there and listen, really listen. Yeah.
What would you say to a listener or a viewer who has not yet taken the step to do an event like that, either locally or internationally, and is feeling really nervous about making that kind of investment? I'm sure you've come across plenty in that scenario.
It's a lot of money. I get that. Like, I get, trade shows are thousands and thousands of dollars just for the space. That's before you've got a hook in the wall and things like that. There's a couple of ways you can go around it. So first of all, my advice has always been get some advice from someone who's done it prior. Like book a session. I do run sessions, and I have run sessions with clients before, prior to going into, a trade show or even a consumer show. There's so many tips and tricks that you can learn that just give you so much more bang for buck when you're there. There's ways to mitigate that investment up front. You can do certain things that don't make it as expensive, or you can pair up with people. I mean, a great example, which is, I was only looking at photos the other day, was Christy from Modibody. When she first launched sort of started with Modibody, I offered her space on my stand at the PBC Expo to see whether it would be the right fit for her brand. I did the same thing with Heather from Kippens. They were able to just have a little piece of my stand and sell for that weekend and see and get feedback and see whether it was their kind of fit. And Christy soon realized that PBC wasn't the space because the product was so personal. Women didn't want to stand there and talk about their period in their undies. But we did a couple of different shows. And so she found what worked and what was, the better way and the better angle. Same with Kippens. Heather just realized that, being in those shows, being so hard and fast, that there would be things that she would do, if she was going to do a stand, and it didn't cost her the whole stand. So we would have a bigger stand. She would have a chunk. We were all there working on the stand. So toilet break, lunch break, you can cover those hours. Some expos don't like you doing that, but I've always said that you're better off asking for forgiveness than permission in some cases.
Act first, ask for forgiveness later. Okay.
I think that's the thing. I think having somebody that's done it before is going to have some really good little golden nuggets of advice, things that worked, tips and tricks you can take away. And then also having the ability to, I guess, budget that in and look at it from a perspective of, what's going to work for your market and your demographic. Like, is going to a pregnancy, baby, children's expo going to be the best fit for your business? Or are you going to fall beside, the way because it's not really going to be your jam? And go walk the floor plan, go talk to other exhibitors. I've definitely been to shows where it's been crickets before. Like it's been,
that was my very first show experience, absolute crickets. It was a lot of very, very upset stall holders at that particular one. And then I remember the first PBC, I actually just went as a visitor first, and that was a super useful experience to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the thing is too, like, I guess when it is really quiet and you've been at, in that position where you're standing there and there's no one there to sell to and there's no one there to talk to, most people just stand there and think, oh God, like this is such a waste of money and whatnot. There's so many opportunities to network with other exhibitors. Like, your opportunity is right there. What can you do with the lemons? Go and meet other people. I've picked up international distributors from other exhibitors that have been on the stand. I've just gone and wandered off and talked and went and got a coffee and just went and chatted. And I've picked up distributors here locally. With Nibbly Bits, I had Michael Brady from Sunbury Nursery who came on board as a distributor. That was just going to talk to them. And then what happened was we developed this little crew of people that that would be there every show. We would travel around the country together. We would share storage boxes together. We would cover each other's stands. We'd go out for drinks and karaoke at nighttime. So the gold might not have been there in the immediate kickback for that particular show, but we were able to then go and run a promo on Facebook together as a collaborative competition with 8 other exhibitors and draw in from their kind of network and boost our network. And that was back in the day. Oh my God, that was just,
even now that would be super beneficial for many, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so while you don't get that return on your investment straight away, there's plenty of ways to mitigate that potential loss by being proactive in that moment. Definitely.
Yeah. So hopefully for people coming through the ranks now, seeing and hearing that advice, they can have a little confidence to back themselves and give it a go. Hey.
Yeah. And
because at the end of the day, you have to, right? You have to just try things out and see what works. And
you can play, you can get caught up in your head and you can worry about the investment. Financially investing in something, it's always good to get advice too. Like, talk to a financial advisor. What can you afford to spend? You might not be able to do a $5,000 stand, but you might be able to do a little tiny one, or you might be able to, like I said, jump on with somebody else. Or you might not even start at those bigger shows. You might start at the smaller shows, the community school fundraisers, the local markets. I used to do a cracking little trade at our local market. I'd do it every fortnight, over summer, and it was brilliant. You'd make really good little pocket of change, and then off you go, and you could do it again. So I definitely think look at what you can afford, and then what are the opportunities around that. But like I said, get some advice, because there's always tips and tricks on how to make that work.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. Don't go in blind.
No.
I want to move next to some of the challenges that you've experienced, because again, it can feel like a really lonely, isolating journey as an entrepreneur. And even somebody said to me just last week that she was going through this really difficult time, and here was the situation, and she just felt like she was the only person going through that. And then it was a group scenario, and it was like everybody had put their hand up. Yep, I've been through that too. So you feel a bit less like a loser when you're not alone. But give us an example of something that was really challenging for you in growing that business, or Mibblers, one of the two. I
think I could write the book on challenges.
Yeah, well, certainly with Mibblers and going through COVID, it's not been an easy time.
No, I don't. I think the hardest thing about having a business is that you're often exposed to a lot of stuff personally that goes on that it doesn't really fit to share in your business, scope, but it can be stuff that's really damaging. It could be relationship breakdowns, financial, pressure and stress, loss of a family member. It can be all sorts of things, children that take up a lot of time, or all of those things. I think the thing is, the really important part about it is to have a great network, a network like what you offer, that gives somebody the opportunity to say, hey, do you know what? I'm actually not going through a great time right now. This is what's happening. And everybody understanding, because realistically, I don't know any business owner that's not even running like multi-million dollar businesses that hasn't gone through it. They might not share it, but I can tell you one thing they'll have a great mentor, or they'll have a great little network of people that they can vent to just to get it out, to feel better, and then come back to their business feeling like they're not the alien in the room.
And with a plan of attack, hopefully.
Definitely. And look, you nailed it. One of the most recent challenges for us with Mibblers was we had just gone over to the All Baby Child show in Las Vegas at the end of 2019. Did a cracking show. I took over a couple of other Aussie brands, repped them on the stand. It was just a fabulously successful show from all accounts. And then COVID hit. So we had lots of interest from Target and Walmart and Bye Bye Baby and West Coast Kids Canada. The big major players were on the stand for Mibblers, and they were all about it. And we had some great influencers and lots of people that were really pumped to work with us. We'd been there for 5 years already, so we'd already built up a lot of those relationships, but they were ready and we were ready. And then COVID hit, and our factory closed down for the better part of 6 months. Prior to that, I took a punt and put all of my money into producing stock. So I said to Lisa, I'm going to fund we'll do a big order that's going to cover us. We can just pick from that order. And then COVID hit us, and I was like, oh my God, now my money's sitting in toys,
it's all tied up for months on end.
And I can't even get it out because no one's picking it up. Doors aren't open. It was like Willy Wonka's factory, not seeing anyone going in and out. It was just nothing happening. So that was really hard. And then by the time our factory reopened and was back to full capacity, because we've got a big manufacturer, we couldn't afford the shipping costs that it was going to cost us, because it had I said to you earlier, I felt like I was going to, oh my God, I felt like I had to sell like 3 kidneys and my unborn child. Like, I said to Lise, like, we can do that, and we're going to, we can take the hit. We could take the hit and make no money and just get it into stores and have it write it off, and, or we can wait. And I said, my biggest concern with doing even the, write it off and let's just do it, let's take the opportunity while it's right there, is that if we are still going to go through this roller coaster that COVID had been, we couldn't control then putting it into a major player like Bye Bye Baby and then having them turn around and say, we need more stock, and we don't have it. And the expectation when you work with bigger retailers is that you're going to have your shit together. You're going to be across it all. You're going to have a, warehouse in the US. You're going to have enough stock to keep them happy, because they won't wait. So if they're going to put you in prime real estate and invest marketing, they're not going to have you muck around. So for us, we'd done all these announcements. We're going into Walmart, Macy's, Target. We had all the contracts. We had all everything. And then we just sort of went, let's pare it right back. Let's work on behind the scenes. Let's do some product development. Let's do some fun stuff behind it. We'll sort of slow it all down. We still sell here in Australia. We'll just tick along nicely.
Yeah.
We're not going to make any big, bold moves because we just want to see how this pans out.
Yeah. It must have been an incredibly stressful situation, like particularly when you got so much money tied up in it and, you know, buyers waiting for their stuff and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. For the
it was stressful. And I think the hard thing is too, when you go into such a big financial investment. I mean, I was pumped. I came back, I was like, Lisa, it's going to be great. Like, we're going to, you know, we've got this, and this. But to take that financial punt and then have it just the rug be ripped out. And the thing is, we weren't alone in it.
No.
And it wasn't just us. So the positive to that was the relationships are still there. So there have been changes, like even with the All Baby Child Expo, you know, the president and his team, they're no longer there. They were all they all retired, and now there's a new team. That new team are people I know now because they've all stepped up to board of director positions. So some of the distributors we'd spoken to and the marketing people we'd spoken to, and now the board of directors of that show. So being able to pick up again and going, you know, I want to come back. I want to do the Australian, you know, pavilion, and we want to do all these things. It's all there. It's just had to be delayed. But I'm a big believer that sometimes you should pare back, and sometimes you should just pause and take a breath. I think sometimes running at things and throwing every idea out there and trying to keep it all going and trying to keep up with the pace is when burnout happens. I think Felicia and I gave us a really good opportunity to just pare it back, work out what our game plan was going to be. You know, and yes, the money sits there, and that's, you know, that is what it is. But I wasn't taking money out that was going to cripple me personally. So it was money that was there that I could afford to have there. I obviously thought I was going to get it back quicker than hasn't been. But that is what it is. I think that's the gamble too. Never gamble more than you're prepared to take a hit on.
Don't put your entire life savings into Bitcoin.
No. So I guess that's been the thing for us now is now we're talking with the UK distributors coming on board. And so we're back talking with the US about going back early next year to do the show and picking up where we left off. So it's all still there. And like I said, it hasn't stopped us selling here in Australia. It hasn't stopped us dealing with retailers. And we just had to be really mindful that our retailers were closed and everyone was online. And there was that online, you know, battle for who was going to be the best price and who was going to draw that one customer to them for the same product. So we just, you know, it's just that communication, keeping things, I guess, you know, might not look like it from outside, but we know that from the back end, we've got all the things going on that we need to keep it, you know, keep it ticking along. And now we're ready. We've got the stock, you know, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, you know, Vietnam, all the little distributors, we're able to just grab boxes now and ship them straight from our manufacturer, which makes it really easy. We don't have to do, you know, any more ordering for a little bit. We've got stock there. And when we go back, we'll be ready, you know, we'll be able to go, okay, let's go. We're ready.
You know, I guess the moral of the story is, and you know, I know it's very hard in the moment when you're going through a challenging time. It's really hard to have faith that things are going to pick up again one day. But you know, just because we appear to be taking a backward step or something didn't work out the way that we planned or expected, it doesn't mean that we're a failure or the business is a failure. It just means that we're just taking a different route to get there. And
absolutely. And you like I said, you're never going to meet a business owner that hasn't had serious setbacks financially, personally, business wise. You know, that's it. If you can't get your head around that, business is not your game. It's just not for you. You have to really understand that it's all not going to go to plan. But there's always a lesson to where you can learn. And there's always an opportunity, I think, to, you know, to take whatever it was that set you back and look at how you would do it differently, make it better, learn from it. You know, I say to a lot of people that I work with even that a lot of people go to university, right, and spend thousands of dollars, you know, doing a degree to become a whatever, lawyer, doctor, whatnot. You're going to do it in your business. You're going to lose a lot of money, spend a lot of money, make a lot of bonehead decisions. You're going to come out with a lot of expert, you know, industry insight into the industry you're in, and that's priceless. You know, it's the same sort of thing. People pay out to be a lawyer, they don't get that back until they're actually a lawyer. You're going to do the same in your business, and you'll, you know, if you can keep that resilience and keep going, hopefully you'll make money, and then your business grows and you can keep growing. So
yeah, love it. It's interesting that you would talk about this, because I've been listening to the audio book called That Will Never Work, and it's by the co-founder and first CEO of Netflix, which started out as a physical product business because they were selling and renting physical DVDs. And they made a really massive kind of mistake and miscalculation very early on with their business. And you sort of look at it now and you think, oh, it's always been huge and it's always been successful. But no, it's not the case. They had to learn the hard way too.
And there's lots of business owners that have done that. You see some of the biggest business owners now in the world, and if you look and read about their stories and their history, a lot of them have come from really epic failures, and but it just didn't stop them. They've just picked themselves back up and they go again. And it's the ability, I think, to get back up. And this is why I think it's really important to have great advice and structure in your business, so that when things
and a network around you.
100%. Yeah, because when things don't go to plan, to have those resources to pull from quickly, to be able to look at where you're at and how you can navigate through it, it's key. It's absolutely key.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that's kind of where we met originally in a network. And and you and I both have our groups that we kind of run, and we have people that we work with in that sort of capacity. But I want to hear a little bit now about the Raw Success Network and awards, because you have people who come to you wanting to learn from your experience, which I think is very smart. If we've made mistakes, we should try and help other people avoid those ones.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is too, like, I've always had mentors that I've been able to go to sort of that are a bit higher up level than me. I think it's important to have somebody that you can get advice from, and just somebody that's just not going to fluff you, because your family and friends don't understand. And even sometimes people in business playing at the same kind of level or in startup don't understand either. If they haven't done it, or they haven't done it in a bigger capacity or more times, they might have one experience, whereas you might have 20 you can draw from, and there's a big difference in that. And yes, we met in a networking environment, and it was great. And I think that's the important thing, right? You've got these relationships. We don't have to talk all the time, but you can go back and go, hey, Kath, do you want to come be part of the judging process for the Raw Awards? Do you want to be a key speaker? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And the same, I'm here on your podcast today. So as far as Raw Success goes, I launched Raw because I felt there was a bit of a gap in the market, where a lot of the networks that are offered are for women only, or they're pigeonholed. It might be and particularly in awards, Telstra Business Awards, much higher playing field. And there's a lot out there. I just felt like there could be something done that was a little bit fresher and a little bit more gritty, and a bit more about people being able to celebrate their own success without the stale vanity metrics that we all are so used to having slammed down our throat when we turn our social media on. So Raw's not about how much money you're making or how many followers you've got or any of that stuff. Doesn't matter what background you come from. It's really about people that are wildly passionate about the businesses that they're creating, and the creative entrepreneurs that are, the heart and hustle, the real, the people that really believe in what they're doing. And, and I think that's
different, all different industries too, right?
Yeah, we're not pigeonholed. I mean, the Raw Awards, even this year, opened up even more. So we have people from all walks of life. We've got people that are artists, musicians, the creatives, the productpreneurs, the service-based businesses, people that are doing side businesses, network marketers. I'm a huge believer that you can learn so much from all walks of business life. I think that you have to be in a certain network of people that are all kind of doing the same thing, you're going to get the same kind of advice. Where you step out of that and you go, oh, I've been talking to a guy that's doing publishing and he's a powerhouse and he's in this crew and I want to write a book now. You might not get that in the network when it's in that kind of space. So it's been really enjoyable. I have to say, I have actually really loved the crew that are attracted to the Raw Awards and the vibe. And again, COVID has kicked us in the kahunas for the last couple of years. So we haven't been able to have the in-person event. I was able to have 2 little pop-up events 2 years ago.
Yes.
And we did our very first one in Noosa, which was really fun, just barefoot in this big house. We all swam in the pool till 2 a.m. It was just really different. But this year we've booked a venue in Brisbane. I've hired 2 levels at a really funky warehouse bar kind of thing called Smoke Garage, and we're just going to flip what people expect awards to be on its head, because it's not, we've got these amazing trophies and it's awesome to win, but I've always found, and Kath, you probably have too, if you go to these events, by the end of the night everyone is so flat, and there might be a handful of people that have won,
or drunk,
or half the room's cleared out. And people have this, it becomes this real like different energy where you've got these people who want to celebrate, and then people that just feel outdone, or that they salty and whatnot, and
didn't get anything out of it.
Get anything out of it. Felt like it was a waste of time and money. So our awards aren't like that. You're not going to come to an event where we sit there for 5 hours and it's not drawn out. It's going to be very, very
I remember
different.
the Telstra one, like 2012, I reckon I was a finalist, so it was quite a long time ago now. I don't know if it's still like that, but you're all dolled up to the nines, and eating this food, drinks are going around, and it's so kind of formal and pretty stuffy. It's very stiff, formalized. And look, it's okay to have that every now and again, but it's certainly, you wouldn't want to do that all the time.
No, and I think a lot of them fall into that category where it's a lot of pressure, right? So you get there, you're really nervous, there's all this energy, nervous energy, don't know anyone. And you know what my pet peeve is, Kath? When you go to an event like that and you sit down and you're starving, right? Because you just got to eat, because you haven't eaten all day, because you've just been like, I've got to have my makeup and my dress, don't want to eat too much because I don't want to be fat in my dress. And then your meal comes out and you look at the person next to you and you think, man, I want what they've got. That's always my pet peeve at these things. So again,
or you feel like you can't eat because somebody's talking.
And it's, it's this epic, and like you said, it just becomes, and don't get me wrong, I've been part of those events, and they offer what they offer, but I've always felt, even if I've won on the night, or if I've cleaned up on the night, I've won everything that I entered, and there's always just this lull. I always feel for the person that didn't. And you just see their energy drop, and you feel guilty then about being so over the top, and, but you want to be, because you want that moment, but it's just, so yeah.
You want to celebrate the wins, but also have some kind of value for everybody else and fun whilst you're at it. So that's
absolutely
to me what Raw's about.
Yeah, well, we did a little pop-up event down here in Port Fairy. I said to the Melbourne crew that had entered 2 years ago, I was like, all right, Dan Andrews is opening, the gate between Melbourne and regional. I'm going to pull a pop-up together. Will you guys come down? And they were like, yeah. And they came down for the weekend. And it was great. We hired this art gallery outside, and Kate Curry from In Charge Box turned up in a rainbow dress. They were so excited to be out of Melbourne. And there was this great crew that came. And the really nice thing about it, we had live music, heaps of food, cocktails, mix of people. So not just people that had entered the awards, but people that were just local, that wanted to come and just have, network and have businesses. And the great thing was that at midnight, I'm kicking everybody out, people that had not won, people that had won, and they ended up at the pub until they were kicked out in our town. And then the next day they were all at the beach, and the vibe was so genuinely positive for everybody, because it wasn't about the trophy. We don't do speeches. We don't do any of that stuff. I know that sounds crazy, but you'll understand when you get there, you have an opportunity to do all of that. It's just not going to be in front of everybody else. But nobody gives a shit about your story and your speech when they haven't won. They just want to know what the next category is, who the next winner is, and get me another drink and let's hit the dance floor. So that's what, so I think it's done a little bit different. And we definitely attract, even our judges are so good at their game, right? So they know the space they're judging. So we have Tony Modolo from Warner Music. He's the head of radio at Warner. He judges our artist creative division for us each year. Like, he knows what it takes to be an artist. Katie Underwood, she's been an artist. She was in Bardo. She's running her own business. We have people that know what it takes to judge the category that they're you know, that you put yourself forward in. So you're not going to enter and then have some banker that's trying to judge a product-based business who has no idea what it takes to be a productpreneur. So I think that's been very different for us too. And we put our judges out there. So it's no mystery judges or secret people. I've entered awards where I don't even know who's judging me. And then I win and I'm like, who judged?
Who picked me?
Who picked me? Or I don't win and I'm like, who were the judges? Like,
exactly.
We're very transparent with all of that stuff. And I think it makes it, the connections then for that are so good, because we've had so many people then be brave enough to reach out to a judge and say, I need a great lawyer, or, you know, they've seen the judging panel. And because we do breakout sessions, you were part of last year, Kath, you know, you get to know the judges, you get to know a bit about what they offer and their story and their tips. You don't get that with other awards programs. You know, you don't get an opportunity to learn from somebody who's judging you, what they are looking for, what their experience has been. You know, Jennifer Holdstock, who's a principal lawyer here at Holdstock Law, was great. She was like, I want great punctuation. I want, you know, I'm looking for, if you're in a service-driven industry and you want to take gold, I want you to really deliver facts. You know, I don't want you to fluff it over. I want you to be like, show me why I need to give it to you. And, you know, she's a powerhouse as far as, you know, as a business owner goes. But learning also from her about things business owners don't pick up on, that's all part of it. I think that's the gold in the, you know, in the space of what Raw offers as well. So
So this year, the awards are happening again, and let's give it a little bit of a plug. So what are the dates? How do people get involved, and give us all the tips?
Absolutely. So the Raw Awards open for entry officially until July 31st. So TikTok, if you're thinking, sitting on the sideline, get on it. Now there's a $99 charge per category. So you can enter one category, you can enter multiple categories. That's totally up to you. I always tell people that entering a category should do something that excites you in terms of your marketing, because we give you lots of marketing material. You get stickers and gifts. We've got press releases this year with some PR stuff that we're rolling out. You know, we give you lots of social media tiles and things. So categories that really speak to you and your brand or excite you, they're the ones to enter. Once you've paid your entry fee, you get access to our private Facebook group where we run sessions with our judges. So you can tune in live to those on a Zoom call and ask questions and listen and get involved. We also run really fun sessions. So last year, I was able to pay lots of the artists who were quite, you know, cooped up from COVID and had their businesses kind of paused. You know, we paid Katie Underwood and Christian DeMarco and Kat from Cat and Fox. They ran great sessions, sound healing meditation, really nice sessions that you can, again, be part of live, or they go into that Facebook group and you can watch the replay. And, you know, they were really fun. Kat ran a really fun interactive art class, and she's such a character herself.
He's so fun.
So you get access to the private Facebook group. We keep you in the loop in terms of, you know, things that we've got, the sessions that we've got coming up. And we're doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff now about what the event's going to entail. And so 31st of July, they close off the entry, and then we give you 1 week after that to complete your judge's submission. So this year you can enter via a written submission. I think there's 15 questions. All about your business. You can also upload to our portal some supporting evidence with that as well, which is new this year. We didn't have that last year. So that gives business owners an opportunity to showcase, you know, maybe some articles or things that they do or things they want to highlight. And then from that, the judging will take place mid-August to about mid-September. So we're giving our judges lots of time this year to really go through things, because we know that they, you know, when people enter Raw, they bring it. The other thing is too, with our application, you can get as creative as you like. So Kath, you might have seen.
I loved that. Yeah, some of them were amazing.
Yeah. So you can really get creative. You can turn your submission into an artwork. You can also enter via video this year. So we've given entrance up to 8 minutes to create a video. Some of the videos we had last year was so entertaining and fun. Sharon Hunter from Amondo Kids became a news presenter and basically interviewed herself. She's an absolute cracker. So you know, there's all those opportunities to, again, it's a bit different, you know, you get to
play to your strengths.
Play to your strengths. If you're good on video, or you can put together, you know, an 8-minute banging video, then video is your jam. That's the way you can enter. And then you still can add those supporting documents. If, you know, creative, if you want to get on Canva and use a kick-ass template and add photos and, you know, change your font up and all those sort of things, you can too. You know, we don't limit you to just having a document where it's boring text. Makes it fun for the judges too. So
it does, yes.
you know, it's not just text,
keeps it much more
text.
interesting.
Yeah. And so the finalists will be announced on September 14th.
Mm-hmm.
I am due with a baby girl in the first week of September, but I am available right through, and our team are available. You know, we can help you through.
You have help, I know. Yes.
Yeah. And then Saturday, November 19th, we're having our in-person event at the Smoked Garage in Brisbane. Yes. So I've hired 2 levels exclusively. It is going to be the most Instagram worthy event, I would say, of 2022. I'm absolutely pumped. We've been closed down for 2 years, Kath. I'm going all out this year. So
wait.
Yeah. So
all the borders will be open, so no one has any excuse not to turn up.
No. And we've always had 100% refund if you get locked out. You know, if we do have COVID interruptions or your border closes, 100% refund you. There's no problem about that. We've had to do it for the last 2 years. You'll get your money back. We don't credit anything or roll anything over if you can't make it because, you know, of any of that. But touch wood, I don't think that's going to happen this year. No. I think it's going to be fine. I think we're going to get the party. So we have the 2 levels and we've got 150 tickets available, and they're available on our website now at www.rawsuccess.com. So you can book.
Fantastic.
Excellent. And you don't have to be an entrant. You know, if you just want to come along, if you're just looking for something to celebrate you and just network in a really different way, in a really fun and fresh way, and you know, if this kind of conversation has piqued your interest and you think, oh, they sound like cool cats, you know, you can come. It's going to be a fun night, and I think a really good opportunity to just shake off a lot of that COVID funk and a lot of that, you know, business build-up that we've had for the last couple of years.
The worries and the what ifs.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be nice. And there's no sort of sit down fish chicken, very different. You can eat whatever you want.
I love it.
Lots of entertainment and lots of surprises. I'll just say that it's going to be fun.
Yeah, sounds good. So we will absolutely share all of those links in the podcast show notes. So hopefully you can we can help get the word out that way.
Yeah, and if anyone's got questions too, like feel free, like you can drop a DM, you know, via our Facebook, Instagram, or email, or through our website. More than happy to help. Some people get stuck on what category they should enter, and then they panic and don't enter anything, and then they message and go, I think I missed the deadline. You know, the other thing is too, the cost, the $99 cost actually covers all of your post award stuff as well. So we still give you, you know, all your badges and your press releases. We'll post out your trophies wherever you are, and that's anywhere in the world. We've got one category that's open globally. It's called Making Waves. So we'll still ship your trophy out. That's all included in that cost. It covers everything from where to go. So
love it. So good. To finish us off today, I want to ask you 3 kind of rapid fire questions, if you don't mind. And
fire away.
So let's go. All right. So the first one is, what advice would you give yourself back when you were in startup mode, now that you've, you know, got all of this experience and knowledge to tap into?
My advice to myself would be to trust my instincts and to understand that not everybody is your cup of tea, and that's okay. So in business, you're not necessarily going to make friends with everybody, and not everyone's going to be your jam, but that's okay. So it's okay to have limitations and put, you know, boundaries in place. Healthy boundaries are really important in business, and it's taken me a few years to learn that. And I think if I could go back, I would tell myself, just trust your gut. Just do you, just stay in your, you know, zone. Don't get tripped up on trying to please people or be everything for everyone. Just do you. I think that's
fantastic advice.
That was my biggest takeaway, I think, over the last few years. So
I love that. I know someone said the phrase stick to your own yoga mat or something like that to me a few years ago, and I always loved that.
I'm picturing people trying to hop on a yoga mat now.
or stick to your knitting. It's the same thing too, I suppose. But you know, like, you can get so caught up on what everyone else is doing and bending over backwards to try and make everybody happy, and it's not.
And you don't have to fit into every network. I think this is the great thing, is that you can try stuff, right? So be brave enough to try. Go to a networking event, go and see what they're about, take the plunge. And if it's not for you, be okay with that. Try and find the next one that, you know, that might be. I think sometimes we try and especially in business, we're so afraid to rattle someone's cage or not kind of get along with someone because we think, oh,
or risk a bad review.
Yeah, that we're gonna
Yeah.
someone's gonna tell someone, and then they're gonna be. I used to add everyone on Facebook as my Facebook friends, and then realized I was sharing all my personal stuff on my Facebook page, and I was like, I gotta cull these people off my book.
Yeah.
I
Who
just
was
gotta,
that?
yeah, I gotta get back to being, keep some things for yourself. Have your business, have your profile, but don't be afraid. You can have. I spoke to someone, I won't name drop her, but she has thousands and thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram. She's a very prevalent personality and has about 500 people on her Facebook page. And I was like, do you get people ask you all the time? She's like, yep. And I'm like, how do you manage that? She's like, I just decline. She's like, my personal space is for me, and my business space I'll share. But I have taken advice from that. I used to just add people. You meet someone at a show, they add you on Facebook. Oh, okay. But then you don't have that connection, and you're sharing stuff personally.
Line, don't you?
To draw a line in the sand. Yeah. Just do me in my space, and then everything I want to put out there publicly. That's what your business platform's for. You can be as vulnerable and as open as you want to publicly. Yeah. And then if you're having a bad day and you just want to share it with your closest, then you can do that in your own space too, and you don't have to make any apologies for that.
No, love it. That's so good. I think maybe all young people need to hear that from their future selves.
Yeah. We're in this space, aren't we? I think of just, it's followers and metrics and just add everybody and be everybody's friend. And I think then a lot of the time, and I don't know if this is what's happened to the girl that was in your group, but a lot of the time then you don't have a safe space to really share what's happening, and you feel like you have to be on all the time. That's when that burnout happens, because everybody feels like they have to be happy and they've got lots of, I'm doing this and I'm nominated for this and I'm traveling here, and because it's all the highlight reel. I find now, like, I can be way more. Kath, you're on my Facebook. I mean, I fell down the stairs while I was pregnant. I had the biggest bruise on my butt, and I put on my Facebook page. I was like, I just fell down the stairs, y'all, and it freaking hurt. But I'm happy to do that because it's not.
I'm not laughing at you falling down the stairs. The
fact that I put my butt on Facebook, but I wouldn't do that on my business profile, right? But I realized that you don't want to have people on that are then going to go and take that vulnerability and go behind your back either. So I think keep your personal 100%. Space, because there's a freedom and an empowerment to being able to do that, I think, too, and let people know. I've got family all over the world, so particularly in America, so being able to tell them what's going on, share that stuff without the risk of that being all kind of intertwined and messy.
Very cool. All right, question 2. What do you think would have been one of, if not the best decision that you've made so far in your business career? Because it's not just one business.
I really just think
it's a hard one, isn't it?
I just think being brave enough to understand when something's not working, being able to make that decision, be okay with that decision, and move forward. And in a lot of aspects in business, that's happened a few times over the years for me. So, I'm even more recently, like I wanted to rebrand Raw. I wanted to do a complete rebrand. I never really liked the logo. Just didn't fit. I really wanted to, change it all up, and it was the last piece that I really felt like I had to do, and so I did that, and it was a huge risk, I think, to go, we're going to change everything about our look and our feel and our branding. But I'm so glad that I did, because it really feels like me now. It really feels like where I felt it should have been. And in the beginning, it was just getting other people's influence and advice and experience and coming up with this kind of, let's just get it together and get it up. But I think being brave enough to be able to look at when things aren't working and go, that's not working. What can I do to fix it? Or if you can't fix it, just being able to get past it, because, often in business you get tripped up on those little things, and they're just those little things that just keep niggling. And if you don't deal with it in some capacity, I mean, in all honesty, I've had experiences in my businesses where I've felt really emotional about certain things, and I've booked a mentoring session with my mentor, and I've just verbally vomited, and then had it put back on me, and had some really thought-provoking stuff come my way, where I've then had to go, I have to look at this inward. This is me. Every emotion that I feel right now is me. It's got nothing to do with anyone else or anything else that's going on. It's all how I make myself feel, because no one else can control that about you.
Yeah.
But being able to do something about it in that moment, and then I get over it and I get past it and I don't look back.
It's such an important skill, and I'm sure it comes with a little bit of age and experience, right? But not taking those situations where things aren't going the way you want personally is so hard. You know, a lot of people do. I don't know whether it's a more female related thing or not, but you know,
my husband would tell you it is. He's like, female business owners are so emotional. He's like, because men don't think about it that much. Like, they don't get caught up on if a client relationship falls apart, or they give you a bad review, or, you know, somebody kicks back and questions things. And so anyway, so I think that in that space, they have this, you know, ability to, men have this ability to just draw the line and draw it quickly. And I think,
and it's a practical, objective thing, and it's got nothing to do with them personally.
It's just black and white, and women are so, not all women, but a lot of women, myself included, you know, just have this.
Got the assistant on screen here.
Just have this. I think sometimes we get tripped up on, all of that other stuff. I think because we do, you know, women, I think, are inherently nurturing and caring and loving, and, you know, you don't want bad vibes, you don't want negativity. Empathetic. Empath. I'm a big empath. It's caught me out a few times, Kath.
I'm with you on that one.
I want to save everybody, and then I'm like, why did that not work? And I'm like, I probably should have seen that red flag like earlier. Probably could have pulled the pin on that a little bit quicker. But I'm a big believer in just, you know, once you've moved past something, I don't think you need to go into it. I think once you're comfortable,
you don't need to
you've made the decision,
ruminate or navel gaze or any of that stuff.
You don't need to explain yourself. You just be okay again with being you and move on.
So good. Last question for you, and I think I can probably imagine what the answer will be, but why do you love being a business owner?
I love the challenge. I just love a good challenge. I think I'm a glutton.
You love that creativity of problem solving, don't you?
And it's funny because, you know, often in business, there's been times where family and friends have been like, why don't you just go back to corporate? And why don't you just go back to being a buyer? You know, you get a company car, you great salary, you travel, But I love the challenge. I love the opportunity to, I mean, I say it all the time. My family are all in. You know, when we go and do an expo overseas, they all come. You know, there's been so many times where I've had pregnancy, baby, children's expos, baby toddler expos, my son in a box with crayons and Play-Doh, and we're all in. We're just an all in family. And I think the freedom a business gives you to be creative and be challenged and be, you know, a complete mess and have those highs and lows and just grow. I've grown so much over the years personally. Some of the lessons I've learned, I've had to fall really hard, you know, like falling down the stairs, battered and bruised, but it's just that it's the challenge and the ability to draw from your experience. And then now for me, it's really about sharing that, and with Raw particularly, creating a platform that offers people, you know, a really safe space to really be themselves in business and drop all of the expectation and just be really pumped on where they're at and what they're doing. And I think the feedback has been, when people work through a process like the awards, or they're in the membership group, or they're in our little group, like, it's that I just fell in love with my business again. I realize I'm okay. I'm enough. This is enough. I don't have to be a $35 million business today or tomorrow. And I don't want to be. This is
they're enjoying the process more.
I think I get a real kick out of seeing that. I think every time I hear that back now, I think this is why I do what I do now. Because it's that it fills my inner cup really, like, you know, it's that. And talking to you, like, Kath, I love the network. I love the relationships and I'll get off this call, I'll be pumped. My husband's going to come home and be like, oh, it's had a great conversation. And, you know, it's that, because anyone can go and push paper and pen around a desk all day and, you know, pump numbers through a system for somebody else's business. But, you know, where's the fun in that?
No, I'm with you.
I'd rather tear my hair out while my accountant's on, you know, like pushing my own paper around going,
and then take a break because your daughter needs to get, you know,
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
What is
Being poked in the eye because she wants to
wanting to play, or yeah.
She wants to hack
great,
my phone. She wants to play my phone. That's what it is. Like poking me. Got 1 minute, Mum.
Yes. Oh, yes. You know, it's all part and parcel of the fun of having your own control over your own domain. Well, control is the wrong word because it's a lot we can't control. But
yeah, and I think if you drop the expectation on yourself, you know,
yes.
business is not easy. The last couple of years have, you know, pushed a lot of people into realizing that, you know, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. If you're still standing in business, man, you're a freaking firecracker, because there's so many that went down in the fight. You know, and just being able to pare back and just do it on your own terms at your own pace. You don't have to be a multi-millionaire overnight.
No.
You know, build a business you love. Do what you love, the money will follow. It's a great book, Do What You Love, the Money Will Follow, and it's very true.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
I'll send it to you, Kath. Send me your address.
I've got
a copy and I love it. It's a little book, and it's all about just dropping all of your expectation and just creating something for you that you love. Because if you admire people in business, if you look at those people in business that are doing really well or seemingly well, there's a common thread, and normally it's they're just so passionate about what they're bringing, and you know, they've been able to attract the right people and the right, you know, network and the right clients or the right customers, and that's why they're successful, because they've stayed in line with them. They don't worry about what anyone else is doing, and they don't give a shit if you don't like them. They know they're not for everyone. So it's like,
I love it.
You know, I think that's it. I think, you know, being able to be you.
Yeah, so good. Well, that's a beautiful note to finish our conversation on today. So I really appreciate your, you know, generosity with your time and sharing your story.
Anytime, and I'm thrilled that you're going to come back this year to be our judge for Raw.
Yes,
and be part of all the fun again. Yeah, because you're awesome, Kath. Love what you do, and you know, even the podcast, you know, giving all those tips and tricks. And
this is my favorite space.
Yeah, you can see and you light up.
I love it.
It's the fun part. They're all the fun bits.
So good. Well, thank you again. So we're going to share all of those links to our audience and encourage everyone to check out the awards and hopefully enter as well.
Fabulous. Well, you've got till July 31st, so TikTok.
Get on it. That's right.
Thanks, Kath. Appreciate it.
Now, if you love this episode and you feel a little inspired or motivated to implement some of the ideas or strategies into your own e-commerce business, but you know you'll need a little bit of deeper support with your marketing or the implementation, my team and I would love to help you. We help our clients to launch, scale, and grow their brands faster than ever, find hidden leaks or new opportunities in their e-commerce traffic and sales process, explore new creative marketing strategies, and help their businesses explode and become more lucrative than they ever dreamed possible. To find out more, just head over to Productpreneur Marketing. You can schedule your free e-commerce strategy session with us today, and you can discover how we can help you take your marketing and your brand to the next level, no matter where you're at today.